Dr. Raukulusu coming to you today on the topic of what is it being alone and what is it loneliness. This is the um, thought that we may want to consider in the morning, and which could be our elevated thought in the morning, lifting our spirits up and really showing us what's the value of being alone versus what's the misery of being lonely, and do we have to be lonely, and why do we have to be alone sometimes, so that we can evaluate things with our own perspective, you know. uh, this has brought forth in a lot of ancient times when people wanted to be alone and wanted to be finding things on their own, versus most of the people who are involved in regular life. They have periods of loneliness. So let's get to the terms first, and then we can jump into the discussion and also opinions of other people, what they feel about this. So I'm open on the our, Wisdom app and Instagram, and also Facebook and YouTube, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Okay? Hopefully, my friends will catch this, and they will come up and talk to me about this very important aspect, because uh, let's put away the things that can be negative in this discussion first, okay, and then go into the positivity of what we can get out of this discussion. uh, as we know, a lot of people feel extremely lonely, um, and then they can lead to depression and lead to, unfortunately, suicide too, so that's a very miserable experience, and the end is also not really what we want as a society. And then this has become more in the younger generation lately, and that is quite worrisome. As a physician, I have seen a lot of depression, a lot of people coming to me because they were lonely. Even the very old people, they were not having any social life at all, and sometimes for them, just to come to the doctor's office is the social event, and they are so lonely at home. And TV, they think they can watch and they will overcome the loneliness, but then lots of times it's the human touch, social interaction that they crave for. And they really, a lot of elderly people are very lonely in this country. And as everybody says, it is terrible to grow up old in America, right? And I see that in the nursing homes, in the homes of the people and the patients who come to me. Lots of them, they are very happy when our staff and myself, we interact with elderly people, and they are really happy that we are paying attention to them, and we are really making them feel like they are wanted and they are valued, and they are kind of um, really uh, really having the uh, friendly visit, at least for an hour or two. Sometimes it takes that much time to be in the clinic with all their ever present chronic diseases. Most of them have arthritis or hypertension, and diabetes, and heart problems, or if the smoker, COPD, uh, any number of uh, diseases they come, and their children have grown and they have taken, they have that empty nest, and they may not have hobbies, they may not have volunteer, they may not be in a physical condition to go and volunteer. They may not be savvy about the internet and social media. So I see the loneliness pervading in the people. And also, There is a loneliness among young people too, because too many expectations, too much academic distinction, and I think you see it in even countries like India. The young kids are committing suicide, and that's a very worrisome thing there too. So this loneliness has this feeling of cut off from everybody and everything else, and you really don't know a avenue where you can pursue and rekindle that joy of being alive, joy of having things, small pleasures, small interactions, and all that, right? So that is a phenomena that is there. What says what is aloneness? Why human beings want to be alone and really cherish that? What happens in the aloneness I'm talking about is that you're alone, not being influenced by the society, which is a dogmatic thinking or doctrination of anything, and you want to explore things alone, and then you see the beauty of it when you really stay with yourself, where you are not really uh, receiving any guests or no family members or anybody, but you want to be alone for a while because you have had it with everybody, right? That's there. And also in your mind, you want to be taking some time and reflect on things, and being alone, you can really explore that too. That's what happens in the yoga practice. You can be very alone when you reach the higher states of meditation, where you don't want to be associated with things, so that your experience of that silence, experience of that calmness, experience of peace and happiness within, you can experience only by alone. Even your wife or your husband cannot be traveling with you in that inward journey of yours. That's where you want to be alone. And then you discover the treasures that are there within. Okay, so the loneliness is a real concern as a physician and as a fellow human being. And when I see people really deeply depressed, it could be an opportunity to come out of it and go to the inner depths of you. But lots of time the negativity is so reinforcing itself, and then they have look for relief with some activity, some service, something like that. That could help. But by and large, it looks like the society is impersonal to these people. It could be everything looks negative, everything looks complaining, and all that, right? So that loneliness, that feeling of really cut off from everybody, comes from not understanding this oneness we talk about, this unity of we are all one. Once you get that firmly placed in your psyche, then you are related to everything else. You may not be in a particular position, you may not be having certain socioeconomic status and all that, but still you are really related to everybody else and everything else. And because you are part of that energy, and there is only one energy, everybody is in that energy. If you are fortunate enough to get into that insight, and then nothing really makes you feel lonely, because you are connected to everything else, right? Just by existing, that unless you have that, I think most of the people don't calm them down and don't slow them down to the extent where they can really take a look within and say, well, where is this loneliness coming? Why do I feel that I'm cut off from everybody? Did I make so many associations in my life and my condition, my mind, like for example, if you are raising your kids, and I know in India people are so uh, attached to the kids, and they continue to play the role even when the kids grow up and then go and find their life, instead of allowing them to enjoy their life and then be in that. The parents want them with them, under them, and then they have to follow everything that the kids say, not the kids, the parents say. So the parents expect the kids to follow everything they say because they are so possessive, and then they invest so much in that relationship. They don't let their patient. That's what we call possessiveness, right? But also this fear of what I'm going to happen in our world. Can they take care of me and all of that? It's as though the kid feels like he cannot live his life, but he has to. He can take care of the parents. He can care for them. He can provide for them and all that, but he has his own life to live too. The parents don't really invest in something of their own inner life, and that's why they look for other people to provide that. Either gossip, either social media, either demanding friends and relatives and all those things, right? But most important activity, as far as I'm concerned, is to really keep quiet and turn inward and find out who you are, right? That kind of thing leads to really feeling this one energy we're talking about. Once you are stationed there, you are related to everything else. So you cannot feel lonely because you are already with everybody. Everybody is with you too, whether they admit or not. You have that. But that's like a inner quest, and ancient cultures excelled in that, and they even stated that is the purpose of human life. Turn inward and find out yourself, and then you are with everything, that energy, that Brahman, that Tao, whatever they call it, and the self they call it. You are in that, and there everybody is related. So you can see that in everybody, the life in everybody. Then you can relate to them as though that is you. Actually, that is true. They are you and you are them, right? And that is the extreme, for very, very people, one in a million maybe, will be touching that. But understanding that path, understanding that there's something there, understanding that that will be by inner quest, and then you can relax and explore it. That needs aloneness, not being influenced by everything around you, and then trying to stand alone. You see, most of the policies and everything have come with people who have stood alone in their stand against some injustice, some thing that's going on that's not right. Take for example, how did mothers for drunk driver against mothers for against drunk drivers MAD MADD started? Because a loss of a mother, and then she stood up, and then she spread it, and then I think most of the laws are made like that in the United States, right? Somebody experiences, and then they stand alone, and their courage, their vision, their inspiration, because they don't care about what other people think. They just stand on what they believe, what they think that's right, and then they influence lawmakers, and lawmakers go and make laws, and then it applies to everybody. Seatbelts, right? That came up like that. So being alone, not only in our, not arrogant, not saying that I don't need anybody, that's not it. Aloneness is where you examine what's going on in the society, what are the current thinkings, what are the current ways of doing, and all that. Are they really real? For a while, we may be asleep and we may follow them, but then later on, as we wake up from that hypnosis, we say we begin to question: Is the suppose we are living under a dictatorial regime, and then how did we come to America where we don't even allow that? Because we tasted that, and then people stood against it, and they were alone in their standing. Okay, that means they were not influenced by the not influenced by the then current social conditions, social norms, or social beliefs and thinking and all that, right? And then they kind of stood against that, and then made this democracy grow, and then everybody basically wants to be free, and that's how we're creating a government for the people, by the people, of the people, right? So like that, unless somebody takes that position alone, and then the other people get inspired and all that, it won't come. So in spiritual matters, especially for the science of the mind, I look to the east, because they have a lot more better structure, better functionality, and better understanding. And it is a science. For thousands of years, they explored into the truth of matter, not compromising, and then really passing on to generation. There was a treasure there, and modern life needs to look at that and respect all the religions and whatever. Um, Obviously, India exploded in that realm, and then Buddhism, Tao, everything spread from there, right? So people came like that, so it's a kind of you have to really understand uh, and then really be alone in our convictions and then in our inspirations and all, right? So why don't you really consider this distinction if you have not already? Can you stand alone and stand alone against the um, current lifestyle where people are not given the chance to grow inside, and rather than just doing, and then stressing themselves out, and then really having the problems with the uh, integration into the society and all that. Sometimes that is good. If you are questioning something, maybe you should question it non-violently, but in a way that is going to be useful for you and other people, and you will come out of that kind of exploration within yourself, some insights of wisdom that can be useful to the society. So be alone means don't be influenced by the societal conditioning that normally goes on. If you are mechanical, if you just follow everything, then you are going with the flow with the herd. But really taking a step aside, out of the box, they say, right? And then you say, okay, this may not. That's how most of the um, inspirations, and out of inspirations, all the new findings happen, right? So be alone in your quest for truth, and then you can stand on the shoulders of the elders, but then you will have to find out these things for yourself, by questioning, right? Not accepting things. And then really understanding, am I lonely or not? If I feel lonely, do I have to continue to suffer, or is that really needed, or is that only a feeling that grew out of my attachments that I allowed to grow within my um consciousness? And then once those attachments are proved to be not true, then we suffer, right? The attachments to the kids, the attachment to the things, the attachment to the job, all those things I'm talking about. So once you allow those to happen, for example, your father is your major influence in your life, and you kind of depend on him. Suddenly, disease, accident, or something happens, and he has to move away because of the divorce or whatever. And the kids suffer quite a lot because they looked up to him. They thought he's going to be permanent and he will be there now. And it is not that how much suffering is produced by the kids feeling lonely because they don't know anything beyond that attachment to the parents. Maybe at a young age, maybe they grow out of it later, but some people become very complaining and really don't like that fact that you were separated from something they attach to themselves. They grow out of it, and then, but lots of times it's not done in the proper way, and society may not be providing them enough. Look at all the mental health. How much of mental health is because of that loneliness within themselves? Do we have to read it, or the feeling of being interconnected with everything is excellent? You know, and when you are doing things, also you are doing because you feel that they are also part of you. They are also really belong to you, and that kind of sensation, the volunteerism, the meaningful activity, the giving, all those that are involved, where we really think this person is human and part of me. So let me go and talk to him and all of that. So it's a kind of you have to um, really understand. Loneliness can be understood, can be overcome. It needs a separate education. It needs a separate awareness of going within and finding out who we are. And we could find out we are in that consciousness where we are all one and we are all one energy, one life force through all of us. Once you realize that, you're at a stage, then you will be able to really overcome loneliness by yourself. Okay, so it's all inside job basically. You know, uh, that's what I wanted to present. I want people to be alone in exploring themselves. I want them to understand if they are lonely, is that really have to be there? Is that really real? And sometimes it can be pretty deep, so they need some support and understanding and treatment and all of that. Depends upon the degree of loneliness people feel. As far as I'm concerned, loneliness need not to be there to the degree it is there. You know, some of it is life ebb and flow, and you feel lonely, you get out, you learn, and all that, but some of them can be clinical, can be lead to depression and suicide too. And we are seeing that in the youngsters quite often. That's why it's very, very important. So in the morning, when you get up, suppose you say, I am very lonely, then you need to work on it. But can you be alone? That's the one I wanted to present today. Let me see. One of my friends is coming on wisdom. Let's talk to him. Hi. Morning. How are you today? I am good. How are you, Dati? I'm good. I have a question for you. This is really interesting. Yeah. If children are so wired to want to be accepted and to not be left out, and that's just a big struggle of every parent. Do you have suggestions on how you can help children start to see the beauty of aloneness? Yeah. I think it's basically they're looking for love and affection, approval. If they get it from the parents, and where the parents are really showing them that they are valued, they are loved and affectionate, then atmosphere like that at home and at school goes a long way. But I think we are very busy with our own jobs and titles and all that, which kind of allow schools to really provide that emotional support. But schools have this pressure of scores and core curriculum and all that. So they don't pay attention to how the kids are really feeling unless they get into trouble or some situation where they show that they need medical care, like they cut their wrist or something like that. Then they bring us the patient. So examining what is happening in our home life, in our office life, and also education life is very important. But you can do one thing with the kids though. If you can allow them to express themselves every day, like a 5 or 10 minutes, not related to the school or any activities, but about what they feel about things. That is something I recommended to so many parents up until teenagers, when until they try to, these days much faster because of the internet. 10 years kids knows a lot of things out there. And a lot of people are also encouraging this depressive feelings in them through social media. That was also there, like the example, Instagram promoting young girls to be thin and really encouraging them to go into depression. That's what accusation they had, right? So it's a question of really attending to the inner life by being there, projecting like I'm here for your anything that you feel, you can come to me at any time. So simple thing, I make 5 to 10 minutes no matter what, just to sit down with a kid and maybe having some chat outside the school, outside the work. And that makes a lot of difference because they get used to confining to the parents, as though they can go and talk to them and they won't jump on them, they won't dictate things to them. And then they become more comfortable. As they become more comfortable, they look to you as the source where you can go and talk about it. So instead of breeding the lonely feelings, we allow avenues where they can go and talk to the parents first and the friends and other people. Lots of times they tell friends lots of things they won't tell the parents. Don't you think so?
I know, I agree, and I think that what I'm wondering is, and this is such a great topic. Thank
Yeah,
you for bringing it up.
yeah,
Is the idea that there might be things we could do, like you're advocating a really great way, the way you start your day,
yeah,
and I'm wondering if there aren't things kind of follow along with that with
yeah,
kids to kind
yeah,
of give them a little bit of a routine
yeah,
to remind themselves that other people's acceptance is not the baseline of
yeah.
their worth.
Other important point I want to make is about social media. I have been warning this. I have been doing this myself. What it is do we have control over the social media? First of all, what time we expose. I recommend not to open the social media just after you waking up, at least for an hour, and before you go to sleep 1 hour. See, the nervous system is very susceptible, so you don't want to get all these things into your mind and then go to sleep. Maybe something positive that you have done for that day, or things happen to you. Simple like your dog came wagging your tail to you. That is a positive to think about if you don't have anything else. Things like that, or you have something really positive happened in your life. You can bring it and then sleep on it, rather than all this negative information or sensational information that people are trying to promote. We need to protect our attention span and also neurological mechanism by keeping the social media in its place. That means we are in control, not that. I think we are getting more addicted to the phone, and especially the kids. And when I see them, they can't really make a conversation with people. They just chat on the phone. Even in the same house, sitting on the same sofa, I saw kids chatting with each other. So we are losing that art of conversation, art of relationship, and social media makes these people feel very lonely when they don't have the account, or it was taken off, or parents impose a disciplined way of taking it away. All those things breed unnecessary conflict in them, right? But if you show them social media should be communication, should be something research, should be something entertainment for a while. But it has to have some control. We have given complete leeway to the social media, then it will lose its purpose. And also, it has the potential of doing a lot of damage for our kids.
Right. I think that one of the things I see in the area that I work in is that has completely changed,
Mm,
and not for the good,
yeah,
our view of relationships and even intimacy,
yeah,
and some of the expectations that are acceptable now.
mm,
A lot of young women really being trained to accept behavior that's not healthy, young
yeah,
men being kind of encouraged to be
yeah,
unhealthy in those
yeah,
areas. And it's
yeah.
very sad to see. I see a lot of the fallout of that.
Yeah. Couple of things with the social media we can do is we can do what's called a digital sunset, which I call, in the evening, parents at least can start maybe 6, 7 o'clock. They can put up all sorts of media from outside. Maybe people, social media, people would like it. That's what I'm saying. But return to our life, relate to each other, talk to each other, and converse with each other, or play games with each other. That time spending with the life, not with this mechanical thing, is very important. All they are doing is they're stimulating the mind through the conversations, but then there are so many controversies, there are so many things against each other, and all those things are not needed for the kids at that age. What they need is honest truth and something that uplifts them, that gives them some hope about building their faculties and then being confident about themselves. That is not being done, because when they are making them how many likes, how many comments, how many followers, and all that, that is breeding artificial, really dopamine surge, and then when they don't have it, they become really depressed. So why do I have to care about how many people are following me, rather than how much meaningful people a relationship are? That is important, but rather than this number of people following, or number of likes, number of comments that are positive. That's another thing, true danger. People try to help each other. They think they are paying a lot of praise, and I'm just being nice and all that. But that is also breeding this addiction to the dopamine surge, and then that is danger too. So if you can shut down the digital and you also watch out for this kind of influences indirectly, I think we'll do a lot of service to the kids. Don't you think so?
I do. I think that one of the most powerful things we can do, because I do know there's even apps that will make you,
Yeah,
that actually, when you go into them, they'll actually help you hide that you were on certain sites, which is just astounding how much farther ahead they are.
yeah,
I'm a grandparent now, so they're way far ahead of me. But I think that you're right. I think trying to create the space for them
yeah,
to detox from it, I think it's crucial. I think one of the most dangerous things I've seen is people sending their children to bed
yeah,
with a phone, knowing
definitely.
that it opens the door not only to abusers but to just
Yeah,
ways of thinking. We just know too much about what's happened in the mental health of our younger kids, and so I
yeah,
think that maybe as unpopular as we might be, I think taking our phones to bed, maybe
yes.
for any of us, doctor, would be not a great
See,
thing.
it used to be parents, especially mom used to, they call it the first guru. And mom used to teach a lot of things and she has the control. But now, even the small kids have phone in their hand and the whole world is flowing into that, you know. And if we don't pay attention to what is coming into them, and they say those apps are trying to hide the people, that means the nefarious activity has gone to the extent where they are protecting themselves, but we are not doing anything to protect our children's mind and our children's brains and this loneliness, depression, all these things. As a physician, it pains me when I see very, very young people committing suicide. I feel that's such a loss of waste, and also how miserable they are when they are doing that act. That my heart goes out to those kids. Lots of times people don't pay attention. If they pay attention, they will definitely take action, I think. That's why, yeah, I hope this brings up some awareness into people, where people are going to take a minute and look at things like, am I really being lonely, or am I attached to things too much? So the detoxification that I was doing lots of times, I call it digital detoxification, where I am control of my email and control of my phone, obviously, and also control of how much time I kind of talk out and how much time I'm spending myself from within, not being self-absorbed, but then turning inside and looking at me, what is happening with me, the reaction wise. So when you do that, at least before the sleep, I prescribe people, before you go to sleep, review the reactions that you may have had during the day. Go back in a reverse order. Because before dinner, what did I do? Did I meet a old friend, went for a drink and had a chat? What we talk about? Did I emotionally react, either positive or negative? You review them. And not that you have to blame yourself or tap yourself, nothing like that. Just review them, be aware of them. And then if they are really made you cringe in your heart, feel like, what is this guy, something like that, uh, take it away, let it go. Or if it's something important that made you concerned about something that you have to take care of, and then you write it down on the paper. But essential thing is, don't keep anything on the mind for the night, because it's not going to do anything. If you can do that a little bit every day, all those reactions will be wiped off. In the morning, you wake up much better. Otherwise, this cycle is continuing. You are thinking up until the time of the sleep, and then you fall asleep on that, and you wake up in the morning, you take it up. That's why I was asking people, don't let thoughts come in right away after you wake up. Be aware of the circumstances, everything around you, and then deliberately allow the thoughts to come later on. If you can have a practice where you can calm down, I have a yoga practice that I kind of do with my friends in the wellness club I have in the morning. So I ask them, we don't talk about things, we kind of talk only, focus on being here and now and doing the asanas, breathing in that awareness. And then we pay attention to whatever is happening to our body and mind and all that. But the end of it, I will talk to them about things. Then I come up on this talk. I talk a lot, but in the practice, I deliberately practice here and now. When you do it in the morning, throughout the day, whenever you want, you will be aware of you that you are not aware and you are in the past or in the future. Then you can bring yourself right away to the present. So I call this a fragrance. You pick up the scent in the morning in the practice and carry that fragrance like throughout the day. Don't you think that's a practical thing we should do?
I think that's very wise, and I
Yeah.
think that is something you could actually kind of teach children as well, maybe a little
Yes.
different language, but I think
Yes.
that's beautiful. I just didn't want to disappear and not thank you for your time. You're always so gracious and
Yeah.
enjoyable, and I always learn a lot when I sit in on your talks. So thank you for having me, and let me ask my question.
Yeah. Thanks for coming up and bringing up that awareness of your work, what you are doing. Uh, mostly, most of the time, this is how it starts. We kind of initiate one thought, and other people pick it up, and then they evaluate it. And if they find it truthful and something practical, something important, I think this is very important for all of us who are parents. To really be aware of how much suicide is going, and the cause of that is this feeling of loneliness that allowed to go on. Because if you tell them, the kids, you should be attached, you should be dependent on people, they grow up like that, and something changes there because the life changes, right? And then they are thrown into loneliness, and also all these other additional things are accelerating this loneliness in the kids much more earlier. They don't have the spontaneity anymore. They don't have the joy of being a child anymore, because all the innocence is taken away by the age they are 8, I believe. And then they are not back at all. And then some of these devices that we are making them useful even as a toddler, and that is producing a lot of attention deficit disorder that we treat. I tell people, don't give them any iPad, anything, because we're using the iPad rather as a babysitter, which is, I think, they are doing it without knowing what are the consequences of the kid, of the exposure of the blue light, and also exposure of so much of stimuli, and so many subliminal messages, so many messages that other people want them to take and then go from
I think that's wonderful. I
there.
think that when it comes right down to it, like the space I work on is actually avoiding abuse and helping prepare kids to avoid abuse. But this comes into it a lot.
Yeah.
That what you're sharing really does dovetail, and I probably will actually use this as a topic in a
Yeah.
talk because somebody who is fully comfortable in their own skin, who has, even if it's not been from childhood, even if there's been abuse in your history,
Yeah.
the more comfortable we get in this aloneness and this actually the ability to enjoy being alone, the more we're going to identify chaos when someone brings it to our world. And I think you've been very helpful in that. So
Yeah.
thank you. You're right. We will take this thought and move it forward into the areas that we work. So again, thank you, and I appreciate you letting me come up and
Yeah.
learn from you.
Sure. Look for me talking about digital toxicity once in a while. I have done three or four already, but I don't know I did them on the Wisdom app or not. I'm not sure. But you look for it. I think you will contribute to that too if you come and participate.
I'm sure I
Yeah.
will. I hope you have a fantastic day.
You too. Thank you. Yeah.
Bye bye.
So, I think that is the concern. Like she was expressing, every parent had it, but sometimes they may not know how to handle that concern, what kind of expression to bring it. And first of all, they may be lonely too. They may not be able to live without certain relationship or certain job satisfaction or anything, right? And then they may resort to alcohol or drugs or other things, right? Addictive. You don't have to be all that. You can be very healthy living, but at the same time, you got to understand what is this mechanism of producing loneliness, and how can we turn this for our use by really understanding what is aloneness is, and then really enjoying that too. Suppose you go on a walk and you are not really thinking about all your problems and everything, because the more you think about it, the more miserable you may feel, but you want to give it a rest for that. Then just be with the nature, just relate to it as though You have only that particular time that you have. Pay complete attention to the flowers, the way it appearing, the way colors, the way fragrance, and all that. You know what they say, smell the roses. That is really true. You get to do that. Once you do that, then your mind will get rest, and then it will regenerate itself with energy, and then you may have better solutions to your problems because you have given it a rest. That kind of being alone with your self, sometimes with your thoughts also, you can be alone and then see them and reflect on them, understand where they are coming from, why they are coming from, what's the significance of. Instead of indulging in negativity, indulging in further depression and all that, you can say, what can I find something positive around this? That's called cognitive reframing. In yoga, they call it pratipaksha bhavana. That means you got to change anything negative by trying to find something positive around it. In Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna says this, whatever happens to you, it is for your own good, if you really know how to take it. I thought so many times when I remembered it when I was in the middle age, now I'm 67, but when I was middle age, like a 40s and all that, that helped me go through tough times with the practice and other things much, much better. So I'm not saying you should use it like a crutch, but that helped me at that time. So it's a kind of being alone with your thoughts and examining them, reflecting on them, not indulging in them. You know that will help you to go through those thoughts and get them out of your system, so that you are joyous and happy and peaceful. You know, so there's so much in this loneliness that is producing so much of misery and so much of depression, so much of mental health problems, so much of suicide rates are increasing, and also the quality of life of the kids. They're being lonely, they're miserable, they don't know where to go, and they don't have the joy because all the superficial pressures fall away after a while. If you do too much, that's what it is. And then we are killing the wonderness in people, are curious in people by providing answers to everything through Google and just mechanically. Let's be making them again human child, where the joy is there in childhood. They can explore things, they can wonder about things, they can really experience that kind of enjoyment with watching the stars in the sky, or the winds breeze on the sea, and the waves on the sea. All those things you can make them be aware of it, alive to the live things, not or continuously to this mechanical thing. So I hope I have conveyed what I wanted to say. Anybody else wants to come up, you're more than welcome to come and tell me about what do you think about this. I wonder, my friends are there. Yeah, I see. Yeah, yeah. Anybody wants to come up, please come up, and then we will talk about it. And um, otherwise, the other point of view I want to bring in here is, uh, what is this social media doing to people's sleep? You know, and if you're miserable and then you take a drink, this we found with a lot of women who are now in the workforce, or who are having the same stresses as the men used to have, but they are not exclusive anymore, and both are suffering the same stress, right? So if you are having a job and that has high demands, and then you also have kids, and then you kind of torn between all of that. They're trying to cope with it. A lot of women handle it, but sometimes I have seen people start with one glass of wine, and then that becomes two, three, four, and before they know it, they become alcoholic. And then that also takes the toll on people too. And the sleep, even if you don't do alcohol and all that, suppose you are very lonely and you are really miserable, and then you want to watch some Netflix or something and all that may not really help you. Actually, recede your feeling of loneliness to the back, and then come back with instead of that, emptying your mind twice a day will help your sleep much better. So I already talked about review of reactions. I have a wellness club. If you want to come and join me and explore these things, and also in a live way, you can do that. I do in the morning. I kind of allow them to into my Facebook group. If they have any comments or questions, they can ask there. And also, I do certain events that they can also participate, master classes, webinars, and all that, right? And I have been trying to come on the social media, but the time has become a problem. So in the morning, 7 to 8, I could spare, but the rest of the time, as I'm doing it, I may listen to my friends who are talking on the wisdom, and I may come up and say a few words or a few minutes and go, but not like this commitment of 1 hour. Or sometimes this goes up to 2 hours, 2.5 hours. It depends on the topic. Some topics that people don't want to come up, that's fine. But some topics they do come up and talk about it. That's fine too. But then my commitment is just to voice out these concerns that I have and present these things so that people also can tell me what they think, what their solutions are, or participate in these things like we are talking about. So wake up in the morning with awareness, delay the days as much as you can, and throughout the day be in the present, and use breathing to bring you back to the present. And at the end of the day, review them, take all these things out of your mind. I think you should teach this to the kids also, so that kids also develop understanding the social media is a tool, and I should have control over the tool like anything else. And then only I will be able to enjoy my other life and build the other life too. Not by force, because unless you do this, you will be punished. Not that, but joyfully, really working what I want to do, and not being addict to the phone. I think most of us are already. You know, that's what I'm talking about. And at the night time, sleep well. Early go to bed and early rise. That's a very healthy thing, but then all these late nights, music, and drinking and all that, they are going to take that toll on the body and mind down the line. Just be aware of that. I'm not trying to preach anything morals or anything. I'm just talking like a physician concerned about the wellness of the people. That's my business now, right? I have this company called Be a Pal, where I'm promoting services based on modern medicine plus ancient wisdom, where I'm attending burnout and stress for the IT individuals, doctors, and physicians, nurses, and also transformation leadership training for leaders, so that they can really provide wellness to their employees by instituting these 4 pillars of wellness I talk about. Nutrition, what are we doing with the cafeteria, what are we really encouraging to be in our drink area and all that. Because instead of water, they have all these sodas, which are, I'm a physician, so I talk about wellness, I talk about physical health, mental health, and all that. But apart from that, look at what the toll it is taking on you. And then I also do this Zoom sessions in the morning for the yoga, so that I can see what they are doing, and then I customize for them. Right now I don't have many members coming in, but then I would like to have more members in there, so that I can really see and teach some of the things that they can be very, very useful for them, like a physical exercise and breathing and calming your mind, and also having quality sleep, and also having joy in life. For me, wellness is defined as a body that is energetic, firm, and flexible, and a mind that is alert and aware in the moment, and really awakened, sharp, and good memory, and are able to think clearly. And then joy in life, and then you have compassion and peace and happiness and love in your heart. Heartfulness is something I think we need to visit. You know, it's not just saying "I love you," but like how heartful we are behaving. You know, that is something Indian quality I really treasure, and I'm glad my mother and other people showed me that they were unconditional. They accept you for what you are, and just because you existed, you are good enough to be loved. You know, you don't have to achieve anything. You know, that was the thing that they showed me in action. You know, and that stayed with me. I don't want to lose it, even though I'm living in America for 40 some years now. 81 I came, 81 November I think. You know? But there are so many good things in America. I studied ancient wisdom while staying in America. You know, so I know a lot of ancient Indian, ancient Japanese, Chinese, and Egyptian, and all that, because I can explore that, you know, without belonging to any group or anything like that, you know, and that I think really fulfillment of my life, you know, visiting the ancient wisdoms, you know. I don't have any problem with the scientific discoveries, but the stubbornness of the scientists not to look at the wisdom that passed before us, that amazes me all the time. I think they should open up their mind and then look at it. You know, even some of the Indian scientists who were there, they were arguing with me that don't call yoga as science, but they don't know anything about yoga and how scientific it is, how much depth it has. You know, so that's their unfortunate attitude. But then they are not really helping that come out to us, especially with the modern stresses. That is what it is. Burnout and stress are the result of modern lifestyle. So you need to understand that and bring in the wisdom hacks from the ancient wisdom to solve us. Like, for example, calming the mind, meditation, breathing, and understanding the body, understanding the way how to relieve your own stress and stains in the body while you are working. That's one thing unique about me is I design exercise routines and relaxation routines while you are working, so that the tension that you build up in the body and in the mind can be nip in the bud right when they are happening. You know, it can be done. Yeah, all that you needed is some understanding, some awareness, some kind of being alert. Suppose you have a bad back, right? And don't you want to not to lift up things, just bending like that, but sit down first and then with both hands you so you down, and then you also put a belt around the back so that you won't hurt your back like that. In a very, very micro way or subtle way, I teach them how to observe the reactions in the mind and in the body and nip them while you are doing the work. You know, those kind of things are very, very simple, but they have to be practiced on a continuous way, because you already have deep conditioning the other way, and understanding the conditioning and not to succumb to it. Already you are succumb to it, a lot of people are, and then they don't even pay attention. They say we are right, we are correct. And then they only come when everything breaks, when they had a event, we call it like a cardiac event, or a coma, or infection rampant and all that. So lot of wellness is oriented towards having that inner resilience and very good immunity that results from healthy living, healthy bodies, healthy minds, and that requires some intelligence, understanding, and awareness of what we are living, how we are living, and how we can change that kind of thing. Okay, so that's why my work is very important for me. I'm dedicating my life for the wellness and the planet. Those two are my passions all the time, and I'm very happy I'm doing that. So people, the more people understand and get into that kind of lifestyles I'm talking about, I call them therapeutic lifestyles, where you eat good food, vitally rich food, not tasteful, delicious, but then quick calories and processed food. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking organically grown and freshly made. Within 4 hours of we make the food we should eat, and chewing it, savoring it, and also really eating only when you are hungry and maintaining the natural rhythms in our body. If you eat when you are hungry and if you assimilate better, that's good for you. Since I think people are so much stuck in their intellectual activity or in their grooves of thinking, they are not able to see them unless somebody. Take, for example, social media or phones. Why are we not paying attention to the time and the content that is coming through the phones to the kids? I think that's being very sleepy, not knowing the situation and just going to sleep. Or it's just too much about why are we allowing these people who wants to block the apps that they are seeing so that parents will not see them? Isn't that a crime? So we should be taking to the legislators and demand them change that. You know. Um, I do a lot of things in this field where I am on the social media. I'm active on the LinkedIn. I'm active on the Clubhouse. I'm active on the Wisdom. But I have a purpose. I have a way to come here and express myself, and I have a good time to making a lot of friends and all that. That's all positive, but I'm not ignoring the negatives. I don't let that dictate to me. I don't open the phone, like I said. I have not seen the phone till now, except for the putting the Zoom and also in the morning, and now for the wisdom is on the my phone, and Instagram is on my iPad, and other channels on the Restream on my computer. So that's okay. I just want to be efficient, reach as much people as possible. So I'm broadcasting at the same time in all these streams. That's okay. But after this 1 hour over, I have a choice to come on Wisdom or whatever platform I choose. Only when I'm relatively free, and also I can do some stuff while listening to them. That kind of. But I'm not going to be drawn into it for hours or hours unconsciously. So be conscious of what is happening in and around us. And just be aware of. That is really meditation. Watching what is going on within you and outside you. If you can start with that, you will do a lot more. Okay. All right, I can go on talking like this, but I just want to keep it for 1 hour, and it's already 8 o'clock. It seems nobody seems to uh, come on stage, so I will end the talk here, and I will see you tomorrow with another elevated thought. Thank you.
Was like, oh my God, I could never wear that. And I was like, let me show you how to. Abracadabra.